The moment reality broke for centuries, we trusted our eyes. Photographs were evidence. Videos were proof. But deepfakes changed everything. Deepfake technology, artificial intelligence, and synthetic media have shattered the foundation of truth itself. In this video, we're diving into how deepfakes destroyed reality, why deepfake detection can't save us, and what happens when seeing is no longer believing. This isn't about technology anymore. This is about the end of truth as we know it. For hundreds of years, images and videos were the ultimate proof. Courts relied on them. Journalists built careers on them. History was documented through them. Seeing is believing wasn't just a phrase, it was the pillar of modern civilization. But something broke. For the first time in human history, seeing means nothing. Deepfakes aren't just another tech trend. They're not a curiosity for tech enthusiasts to marvel at. They represent a civilizational event, a fundamental rupture in how we perceive reality. We're not entering an era of lies. We're entering an era where truth itself loses value. Where the line between real and fake doesn't just blur, it disappears entirely. What are deepfakes? Let me explain this simply. A deepfake is a synthetic media video, audio, or image created by artificial intelligence. But here's what makes it different. From traditional editing, you're not altering reality anymore. You're creating a new reality from scratch. Think about Photoshop. You take a real photo and change it. You remove someone, add someone, adjust colors. But deepfakes? They don't need the original at all. Here's how it works. AI studies thousands of images and videos of a person. It learns their facial structure, their micro-expressions, how their mouth moves when they speak, how their voice sounds in different emotional states. It absorbs every tiny detail, the way light reflects off their skin, how their eyes move when they're thinking, the subtle muscle movements that make them uniquely them. Then it generates something entirely new. A video of that person saying words they never said, doing things they never did, being somewhere they never were. And the critical leap we've crossed? The cost has collapsed. 5 years ago, creating a convincing deepfake required powerful computers, technical expertise, and weeks of work. Today, there are apps, free websites, tools that anyone can use in minutes. The barrier to entry isn't just lower, it's gone. A teenager with a smartphone can now create what would have required a Hollywood special effects studio a decade ago. This isn't about fancy technology anymore. It's about what happens when the ability to fabricate perfect lies becomes universal. When anyone can make anyone say anything. When video evidence, the thing we've trusted for over a century, becomes meaningless. And that's exactly where we are now. The first shock, when people started doubting what they saw, it started with a few viral videos that made people stop and stare. In 2018, a video surfaced of Barack Obama calling Donald Trump a complete dipshit. The video looked real. The voice sounded authentic, but Obama never said those words. It was created by filmmaker Jordan Peele and BuzzFeed to demonstrate how dangerous this technology had become. That was the warning shot. Then came the viral deepfakes of Mark Zuckerberg, Tom Cruise, Elon Musk. Videos of world leaders saying things they never said. CEOs making announcements they never made. Celebrities in situations they were never in. The public reaction followed a predictable pattern. Shock, then denial, then something far more dangerous: normalization. Oh, it's just another deepfake. Now, you might think this sounds familiar. Remember when Photoshop became mainstream in the early 2000s? People started questioning photos. Magazines got caught editing models beyond recognition. We learned to be skeptical of images. But here's why deepfakes are infinitely more dangerous than Photoshop ever was. Our brains evolved over millions of years to trust what we see in motion. A photograph is static, we learn to question it. But video captures movement, emotion, voice, context. When we see someone speaking on camera, every instinct in our brain says, "This is real." The human brain didn't evolve to distrust realistic video. We have no natural defense against it. In 2019, a British energy company's CEO received a phone call from his boss, the CEO of the parent company in Germany. The voice was perfect. The German accent was right. Even the speech patterns matched. The boss ordered an urgent transfer of $243,000 to a Hungarian supplier. The CEO complied immediately. The boss never called. It was a voice clone deepfake. The money was gone. In 2023, a finance worker in Hong Kong attended a video conference call with their company's CFO and several colleagues. They discussed a confidential transaction and the worker was instructed to transfer $25 million. Every person on that call, the CFO, the colleagues, everyone was a deepfake. The worker transferred the money, all $25 million of it. These aren't hypothetical scenarios. These are real cases. And they're just the beginning. The collapse of visual trust deepfakes don't just create fake videos. They destroy three fundamental pillars that hold society together: journalism, justice, and collective memory. Let's start with journalism. For over a century, video evidence has been the gold standard of investigative reporting. A leaked video could topple governments, expose corruption, reveal war crimes. When a journalist had video proof, the story was ironclad. Not anymore. Now, every damning video can be dismissed with two words: it's fake. And here's the terrifying part: sometimes it actually is fake, but sometimes it's not. And we have no reliable way to tell the difference at scale. This creates what experts call the liar's dividend. If everything can be fake, then anything can be denied. Politicians caught on camera doing something illegal? That's a deep fake. Corporate executives exposed in a scandal? AI generated? Activists documenting human rights abuses? Synthetic media. The truth becomes just another opinion. Now let's talk about justice. Video evidence has been crucial in courtrooms for decades. Security footage, body cameras, witness recordings, these have convicted the guilty and freed the innocent. But if any video can be a deepfake, what happens to the justice system? Defense attorneys can now claim that incriminating evidence is fabricated. Prosecutors struggle to prove authenticity beyond reasonable doubt. And here's the nightmare scenario. What if someone is actually innocent, but a deepfake video places them at a crime scene they never visited? How do you prove you didn't do something when there's video evidence of you doing it? In China in 2021, a man was arrested for fraud after security cameras showed him at an ATM stealing money. He had an alibi, he was miles away at the time, but the video was clear. It took weeks of investigation to prove the footage had been manipulated by someone using deepfake technology to frame him. He was lucky, most people won't be. And finally, collective memory. We remember history through images and videos. The moon landing, the fall of the Berlin Wall, the planes hitting the Twin Towers. These moments are seared into our collective consciousness because we saw them. But what happens when future generations can't trust what they see? When historical footage can be created, altered, or denied? When every major event in history can be questioned because it could be fake? We're not just losing the ability to trust the present. We're losing the ability to agree on the past. The truth doesn't just become contested, it becomes unknowable. If you've ever been fooled by AI-generated content, or if you've seen a deepfake that made you question reality, drop a comment below. I want to hear your story. Impact on ordinary people. Most news coverage focuses on celebrity deepfakes. Tom Cruise playing golf. Fake videos of politicians, but the real danger isn't happening to famous people. It's happening to people like you. In Arizona, 2023, a mother received a frantic call from her 15-year-old daughter. The girl was sobbing, screaming for help. In the background, a man's voice, "Lie down. Put your head back." The kidnapper got on the phone, demanding $1 million ransom. The mother was ready to do anything. She was 4 minutes into negotiating when another call came through from her daughter's phone. Her daughter was fine. She was at a ski trip, completely safe. The kidnapper had used a voice clone created from a few seconds of the daughter's voice, probably from a TikTok video or Instagram story. The entire kidnapping was fake. The terror was real. This is happening thousands of times a day now. Elderly parents receiving calls from their children begging for bail money. Spouses hearing their partners in distress. Employees getting urgent instructions from their boss. The technology is so good that people can't tell. These aren't robotic voices anymore. They capture emotion, stress, fear, all the acoustic signatures that make us believe someone we love is in danger. In 2024, banks reported a 700% increase in fraud attempts using voice cloning technology. Customer service departments that rely on voice verification are now essentially useless. Your voice is no longer proof of your identity. But it gets worse. Deepfake technology is now being used for intimate image abuse. People, mostly women, are having their faces superimposed onto explicit content they never participated in. These videos spread through schools, workplaces, and communities. In South Korea, this became such an epidemic that in 2024, Over 220 schools reported cases of male students creating and sharing deepfake pornography of their female classmates. Some victims were as young as 11 years old. The psychological damage is devastating. These aren't just fake videos, they destroy reputations, relationships, mental health. Victims report PTSD, depression, and suicidal thoughts. Some had to leave their communities entirely. And here's what makes it especially cruel. These videos never fully disappear. They get saved, reuploaded, shared. The victim spends years trying to scrub their fabricated content from the internet while their real life falls apart. The silent terror that now exists. You can be incriminated for something you never did. Your face, your voice, your body. All used without your consent to create evidence of events that never happened. And there's almost nothing you can do to stop it. Children growing up in a world where nothing is real. Children learn what's real by watching adults. They develop their sense of truth, consequence, and reality by observing how the world works and how adults respond to it. But now adults don't know what's real either. Think about what this means. An entire generation is growing up in an environment where the foundational concept of truth is unstable, where any video could be fake, where their heroes, teachers, and even their parents can be convincingly impersonated. They're watching AI-generated influencers with millions of followers, people who don't exist giving life advice. They're seeing news that may or may not be real. They're receiving information from sources that may or may not be human. The framework for understanding reality is collapsing during their most formative years. Remember the Facebook fake news crisis of 2016? People were worried about misleading articles and doctored photos. That concern seems quaint now. At least those were still human lies. At least there was still some connection to reality that could be traced and debunked. Deepfakes are different. They're not distortions of truth, they're manufactured realities that never existed. And children are being immersed in this before they've even developed the critical thinking skills to navigate it. In 2023, a study found that children ages 8 to 12 could only accurately identify deepfakes about 45% of the time, worse than a coin flip. Teenagers performed slightly better at 58%. But that still means nearly half of what they saw fooled them completely. And the technology is improving faster than detection abilities. Here's what happens psychologically. When you grow up unable to verify truth, you stop trying. You develop what psychologists call epistemic learned helplessness. The belief that truth is unknowable, so why bother? This leads to two dangerous outcomes. Some children become completely apathetic. Nothing is real anyway. They disengage from reality entirely, retreating into digital worlds where at least the fakeness is acknowledged. They stop caring about facts, evidence, or verification because those concepts have lost all meaning. Others become radicalized. If you can't trust institutional sources of truth, you trust your tribe, your community, the people who feel right. This makes young people extremely vulnerable to manipulation by extremist groups who offer certainty in an uncertain world. A generation growing up without a stable reference for reality doesn't learn responsibility. They don't learn that actions have consequences. Because in their world, actions themselves might not be real. We're not just raising children who can't tell real from fake. We're raising children who don't believe the distinction matters anymore. The elderly. Isolation and manipulation. While children are growing up without reality, the elderly are being systematically exploited by its absence. Older adults already face two vulnerabilities that make them perfect targets: social isolation and deep-rooted trust. For many elderly people, a phone call from their child or grandchild is the highlight of their day. They've spent a lifetime building trust in voice recognition. They can identify their loved ones instantly by sound alone. That trust is now a weapon against them. In 2023, the FBI reported that voice cloning scams targeting seniors resulted in losses exceeding $660 million in the United States alone. And those are just the reported cases. Experts estimate that less than 10% of elder fraud is actually reported due to shame, embarrassment, or fear. Here's how it typically works. An elderly person receives a call. It's their grandson's voice, scared, crying, desperate. He's been in an accident, or arrested, or robbed overseas. He needs money immediately. He begs them not to tell mom and dad because he's ashamed. He needs help right now. The voice is perfect. The emotion is authentic. The grandmother doesn't hesitate. She wires $5,000, $10,000, sometimes their entire savings. The grandson is fine. He never called. Someone scraped 30 seconds of his voice from a YouTube video, a voicemail, a TikTok, and fed it into an AI voice cloning tool. The entire call was generated. But it gets even more sophisticated. Scammers are now creating video called deepfakes. An elderly person sees their child on screen, not just hears them, but sees them. The facial expressions match. The voice syncs perfectly. The background looks plausible. "Hi mom, I'm calling from the police station. I need bail money. Can you transfer it to this account?" In Italy, 2024, a 73-year-old woman video called who she believed was her daughter for 40 minutes. They talked about family, shared memories, discussed the daughter's legal trouble. The woman transferred euro 120,000. Her actual daughter had no idea any of this happened until 3 days later. The psychological impact on elderly victims is catastrophic. Many already struggle with cognitive decline and uncertainty about technology. When they discover they've been deceived by something they trusted absolutely their own child's face and voice, it shatters their remaining confidence. They stop answering phones. They become paranoid of all communication. They isolate further, which ironically makes them more vulnerable to other forms of exploitation. And the shame prevents most from reporting. They feel stupid. They worry their family will think they can't take care of themselves anymore. They fear being placed in assisted living. So they suffer in silence while their life savings disappear. An entire generation that built their lives on trust is being destroyed by synthetic empathy. Politics, war, and controlled chaos, everything we've discussed so far: fraud, manipulation, personal exploitation, that's the individual level. Now let's talk about what happens when deepfakes become weapons of mass disruption. Imagine this scenario. A video surfaces of the US president announcing an immediate military strike on another nation. The video looks official. It's distributed through what appear to be government channels. The president is at the podium. The seal is visible. Everything checks out. Financial markets crash within minutes. Allied nations scramble to respond. Military forces go on high alert. Citizens panic. And then, 20 minutes later, the White House issues a statement. That video is fake, but the damage is done. Stock markets have lost billions. International tensions have spiked. Public trust in official communications has been shattered. This isn't a distant threat, it's already happening. In 2022, a deepfake video of Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky surfaced, showing him telling his soldiers to surrender to Russia. The video was crude by today's standards, it was debunked quickly, but it was a proof of concept. The next one will be better. In 2024, during the Slovakian elections, a deepfake audio clip went viral days before voting. It allegedly showed a candidate discussing plans to rig the election and buy votes with beer. The clip spread through social media faster than fact-checkers could respond. The election results were narrow. Did the deepfake change the outcome? We'll never know. But it definitely influenced thousands of voters who heard it and believed it. Here's the strategic genius of deepfakes as political weapons. You don't need the fake to be believed forever. You just need it to be believed long enough. Long enough to sway an election. Long enough to trigger a market panic. Long enough to justify a military response. Long enough to incite violence. The correction always comes later. But by then, real consequences have already unfolded. And governments are terrifyingly unprepared. Current protocols for crisis communication assume that official channels can be trusted. But what happens when those channels themselves can be faked? When a video from the Pentagon or from the Prime Minister's office could be synthetic? How do you issue a credible denial when the denial itself might be fake? In war, deepfakes create what military strategists call manufactured fog, deliberate confusion that makes it impossible for adversaries to coordinate responses. Fake orders to retreat, false peace offers, fabricated atrocities. In modern warfare, you don't need to defeat your enemy's army. You just need to destroy their ability to trust their own command structure. And the most frightening part? This technology is now accessible to anyone. Nation-states, terrorist organizations, lone actors with a laptop and an internet connection all can create political chaos at scale. We've entered an era where a single person with the right tools can destabilize a government, crash an economy, or start an international incident. Not through violence. Through synthetic reality. Why there's no going back? At this point you might be thinking, can't we just detect deepfakes? Can technology solve this? The short answer is no. And here's why. Deepfake detection is trapped in an arms race it cannot win. Here's how it works. Researchers develop detection methods that look for artifacts, visual glitches, unnatural blinking patterns, audio inconsistencies. These tools get pretty good at catching deepfakes. Then the AI that creates deepfakes learns what the detectors are looking for, and it adjusts. The next generation of deepfakes is designed specifically to fool those detection methods. So detection tools improve, and then creation tools improve again. It's a never-ending cycle, but it's fundamentally asymmetric. Detection is always reactive, it's always chasing what creation has already achieved. And creation only needs to win once. Detection needs to win every single time. Think about it like antivirus software and computer viruses. After 40 years of this arms race, viruses still exist. They still cause damage. Detection helps, but it's never complete protection. Now apply that to deepfakes, but make it worse because deepfakes evolve faster than viruses ever did. In 2019, it took specialized equipment and expertise to create a convincing deepfake. By 2021, smartphone apps could do it. By 2023, real-time deepfakes during live video calls became possible. By 2024, the quality was essentially indistinguishable from reality to the human eye. The technology improves exponentially, and it's been completely democratized. This isn't controlled by governments or corporations anymore. The tools are open source. The knowledge is freely available. Anyone with a decent computer can download everything they need to create professional, quality synthetic media in minutes. You can't regulate it. You can't put the genie back in the bottle. The code is out there permanently. And the internet amplifies everything infinitely. A deepfake created in a bedroom in Romania can reach 1 billion people before any detection system even analyzes it. By the time it's flagged as fake, it's already been shared, downloaded, and re-uploaded to hundreds of platforms. Even if you could detect every deepfake perfectly, which you can't, the speed of viral spread means the damage happens before detection matters. We've crossed a technological threshold that cannot be uncrossed. The capability exists. The knowledge is distributed, the tools are accessible. For the first time in history, perfect lies are cheaper and easier to create than verifiable truth. What changes in human psychology? The existence of deepfakes doesn't just change technology. It fundamentally rewires human psychology and social behavior. Let's start with interpersonal trust. For your entire life, you've relied on certain anchors of identity. You recognize your mother's voice. You know your friend's face. You trust that when you see someone on a video call, that person is actually there. These aren't conscious thoughts, they're deep, automatic processes your brain handles without effort. But now, every one of those anchors is suspect. That video call could be fake. That voice message could be cloned. That video of your friend could be fabricated. For the first time, humans need to consciously question sensory information that evolution programmed us to trust automatically. This creates what psychologists call epistemic exhaustion. You simply cannot critically analyze every piece of sensory information you encounter. Your brain doesn't have the capacity. We evolved to use heuristics, mental shortcuts to navigate reality efficiently. But deepfakes exploit those exact shortcuts. So what happens? People cope in 3 ways, all of them destructive. First, generalized cynicism. Everything is fake anyway. This is psychologically protective. If you assume everything is a lie, you can't be fooled. But it also means you disengage from reality entirely. You stop believing in anything, which makes you vulnerable to manipulation by whoever gains your tribal trust. Second, selective credulity. People give up trying to verify everything, so they believe what confirms their existing worldview and reject what challenges it. This supercharges polarization and makes consensus impossible. Everyone lives in their own reality, built entirely from information they've chosen to accept. Third, apathy. Nothing matters because nothing is real. This is perhaps the most dangerous. When people stop believing that truth exists, they stop caring about it. Civic engagement collapses. Democratic participation becomes meaningless. Why vote if the information you're voting on might all be fabricated? We're seeing all 3 of these responses emerge simultaneously across society. The result is the death of shared reality, the foundational concept that we all inhabit the same world with the same facts, even if we interpret them differently. That concept is dying. Instead, we're fracturing into millions of individual reality tunnels, each person believing their own version of truth with no common ground to adjudicate between them. And this has a cascading effect on radicalization. When institutional sources of truth collapse, journalism, science, government, academia, people don't just become neutral skeptics. They seek alternative sources of certainty. Extremist groups offer that certainty. They offer a coherent worldview, a clear narrative, and a community of people who see the truth that others are too blind to see. The psychology is simple. Humans crave certainty. When legitimate sources of truth become unreliable, illegitimate sources that offer certainty become attractive. Deepfakes don't just create fake videos. They create the conditions for mass radicalization by destroying the middle ground of verifiable truth. We're not heading toward a society of skeptics carefully weighing evidence. We're heading toward a society of believers, each believing in fundamentally incompatible realities. And there's no mechanism left to resolve those differences. Because the tool we used for centuries to resolve disputes, evidence, no longer works. A society without proof, so where does this lead? We're moving toward a future where visual and audio evidence lose their legal, social, and personal value. Contracts based on video proof become unenforceable. Security footage becomes circumstantial at best. Recorded confessions can be challenged. Witness testimony backed by recording carries no more weight than memory alone. Digital identity becomes fundamentally unstable. Right now, your identity is tied to your appearance, your voice, your biometric data. But if all of those can be perfectly replicated, what proves you are you? We're going to see an explosion in alternative verification methods, blockchain-verified video, cryptographic signatures embedded in recordings, hardware-authenticated cameras that timestamp and sign footage at the moment of creation. But these solutions have problems. They're technical, they're not intuitive, and they only work if everyone adopts them universally, which they won't. More likely, we'll see a split reality. Verified content for official purposes, created using expensive authenticated systems, and the wild west of unverified content for everything else. Or we might see something even more radical, a return to local, tribal trust. Throughout most of human history, people trusted what they could verify personally. You believed your neighbor because you knew them. You trusted local authorities because you could see their actions. Information from distant sources was treated with skepticism. Deepfakes might force us back into that mode. Not because it's better, but because it's the only trust model that still functions when mediated information becomes unreliable. This would mean the end of global consensus. The end of shared narratives that bind large populations. A retreat into smaller, insular communities of trust. Or, and this might be the most likely outcome, we simply adapt to permanent uncertainty. We accept that we live in a reality where the truth is constantly contested, where evidence is always questionable, where certainty is impossible. We make decisions based on probability rather than proof, on reputation rather than verification, on intuition rather than evidence. This isn't a return to a pre-scientific worldview. It's something new, a post-truth worldview where we acknowledge truth exists, but accept we can rarely access it directly. Some philosophers call this epistemic humility, others call it functional nihilism. Either way, it's a fundamentally different way of existing in the world, and it's not optional. We're already there. Reality as a choice. Here's the thing, reality didn't disappear. Physical reality is still here. Truth still exists. Things still happen or don't happen, regardless of what anyone believes. But for the first time in history, accessing that truth requires active defense. It used to be automatic. You saw something, you believed it. That was sufficient for thousands of years. Now, truth must be fought for. It must be verified, cross-checked, authenticated. It requires effort, skill, and tools that most people don't have. Deepfakes didn't just change the internet. They changed the fundamental relationship between humans and reality. They changed how we trust each other, how we build relationships, how we form societies. They changed the social contract at its most basic level. Because that contract was always based on a simple assumption. We share the same reality. We might disagree about what it means or what to do about it, but we at least agree on what happened. That assumption is gone. And once it's gone, everything else changes. The legal system, democracy, journalism, history, memory, identity, trust, all of it was built on the foundation that seeing is believing. And that foundation just crumbled. When everything can be fake, truth stops being automatic. It becomes a choice, a decision, an act of will. Some people will choose truth. They'll do the hard work of verification, authentication, and critical thinking. Others will choose comfort. They'll believe what makes them feel good, what confirms their tribe, what gives them certainty, and many will simply give up. They'll accept that truth is unknowable and build their lives around that void. All three of those futures are happening right now, simultaneously, in the same world. And that's how we'll live from now on. Not in one shared reality, but in millions of fractured realities, all competing for belief, none provably more real than any other. Deepfakes changed everything, and there's no going back. If this video opened your eyes to something you hadn't considered, hit that like button. Subscribe if you want more deep dives into the forces reshaping our world. And turn on notifications because this is just the beginning. Drop a comment and tell me, do you think we can ever go back to trusting what we see? Or is this the new permanent reality? I'll see you in the next one.